I came from a very religious Christian family. My background is West Indian. My parents migrated to Canada about 35 years ago. So really, Canada is really all we really know of, culture-wise. My mother's background and heritage was actually Muslim, but in coming to Canada, she converted to Christianity. So that being the case, she became very strong in her faith and really taught us the value of God. And this was very important to me growing up because I always had this recognition of God. I didn't have this concept of, the Trinity or anything of that sort, but God was very important to me. So about the time, I was in kindergarten up to the time before puberty, I was fairly cognizant of God. And what happened is that, as any youth grows up, we get involved in the culture. We get involved in some of the vices of society. In my case, it was the hip-hop culture. Now, up to this time, I never forgot my prayer. This is something I was taught consistently throughout my life. But coming to the time as a teenager, those prayers became somewhat vain. They became somewhat, God, give me a good girlfriend. God, give me a good car. Things which are very trivial, right? Very material. And I was at a material high, but at a very spiritual low. And, you begin to think about life, where you come from, why are you here? And it just came to me, it just came to me. And unfortunately, being distracted by, being a DJ, coming from a very disciplined family, very traditional in the sense of go to school, get a job, get a house with a white picket fence. I mean, this was a concept, right? So I was trying to battling, the two different worlds, my spiritual world and also the outward. And this is what compelled me to, really think about, my purpose my purpose. Why am I alive? Why am I, doing what I'm doing? At about 16 years old, I met this girl, and she was Muslim. Now, she wasn't very practicing Muslim, but she was the one who kind of sparked my, I guess you could say, spiritual enlightenment, and started my search into what, I guess, concluded with me becoming a Muslim. And, learning about Islam was somewhat difficult for me. I had a lot of misconceptions about it, so much so that, going to a fairly, Anglo-Saxon Western European school, there weren't very many Muslims. It was very not an ethnic population. And, I used to kind of mock the Muslim sisters for wearing, the hijab. And I had a very vague concept of it. I thought it was oppression more than, integrity and modesty. And so, like I said, I was more interested in my material life rather than my spiritual life. But this girl, she kind of focused my direction towards Islam. And one day, this was when I was about 16 years old, I was shopping for a Christmas gift for my family. It was a very busy day. And this day was very important for me because this is the day when I think God really opened up my heart. I was shopping for a T-shirt. I walked outside the mall. And not knowing, I actually had that T-shirt in my hand. I didn't pay for it. And, being very, I was terrified because I'm like, what did I just do? I walked back to the mall. And I'm like, and at this time, there were bodyguards chasing me. Security guards chasing me. I'm just walking aimlessly, not knowing what I was doing. And I turned around and they got me, they grabbed me by the arm, took me upstairs, and said, you're charged for theft under $5,000. Irrespective of the fact that, I was walking back, it was a mistake, but, it was a stupid mistake. So, I come from a very, loving family. So them being called on the phone saying, your son is being charged for theft was devastating for them. And for me as well. And it was an embarrassment. And on top of that, my parents were actually on vacation during this time. So hearing this, getting a call, from a police officer, your son's in custody, it was devastating, And coming home on the subway, I thought to myself, what am I doing? This is terrible. Where am I going to turn to? And this is when I thought about, what? I was invited to the mosque once. Maybe I should go. because maybe they have the answers which I'm seeking. And it was more of a, I needed someone to talk to. I needed companionship, real companionship, not, fake companionship. So this is when I went to the mosque. And really going to the mosque, the brotherhood, the earnesty, the modesty of the brothers, it compelled me to learn more about the religion. And this is when my quest, you could say, really began. When I went to the mosque, the first thing the brothers talked to me about was this concept of monotheism. And as a Christian, we say we have this concept of monotheism. However, the Islamic, how we believed in it was so much different, because this utterly unique God, which Muslims worship, was active in our lives. We had to recognize Him, we had to worship Him, and follow His commands. And this is what really said, you know what, this makes more sense. This makes a lot more sense, coming from a very disciplined family. The concept of 5 daily prayers, it sprung. It made a lot of sense to me. Because, we live our lives, I know in my daily life, we go to school, we come home, and so many things happen in between. You may have, said something incorrect, or you may have, society itself this could be a pollutant to our soul. So, thinking about Islam, the concept of 5 daily prayers, number one, and the concept of brotherhood. Brotherhood in a pure sense, that we're all different, but at the same time, we all recognize that we believe in the same God, and we worship Him and we turn to Him 5 times a day. This was exactly what I was looking for. Like I was saying before, that I was looking for more of a companionship. Because I found that me being around certain individuals caused my decline in spirituality. So this is what Islam taught me, that we're united under this concept of we call it tawheed, monotheism, and it was very difficult for me to reconcile, my 17 years of being a Christian with now becoming a Muslim. I was trying to compromise in the beginning the two different, ideologies, the concept of the crucifixion, the concept of divine sonship. It was very difficult for me to leave, because it was engraved into me. But I realized that in the end, I would rather answer to God and saying that I worship You alone with no partners. And I can't conceive of utterly just, perfect, merciful God saying, you were wrong. I worship someone else. So this is what really compelled me to learn and to really, in the end, accept Islam. Because, everything's keeping you back, but in the end I had to accept it. Like, this was the truth, and it was time to make a change in my life for the better. I hid my religion for about a year. I was afraid that my parents would be very disappointed in me. Being a Christian, raised as a Christian, it was very difficult for me to say, I'm a Muslim now, I don't believe in what you believe. Coming from a very traditional family, this was something which you never ever do. So I prayed in secret, I fasted in secret, I did everything in secret, but it came a point where I had to, admit, the fact that I am a Muslim. I have to manifest my inward with my outward. So I began to, buy the literature. Muslims would call me. I went to the mosque frequently. I couldn't hide that anymore. So in the end, my mom actually found out that I was Muslim. I didn't have to tell her, and I told her, yeah, I am a Muslim. And they've grown to be very tolerant, I guess, in the end, with what I do as a Muslim, even though they don't agree with it. But, they allow it because I think they've seen the change in me. And they've seen that, everything I've accomplished in my life is a result of, I guess you could say, my faith. I really improved in school because I found that knowledge is so sacred in Islam that we have to exert ourselves to achieve that goal of being more educated, not only in the religious sense, but in the secular sense. So right now I study criminology in school and law. So this, I can't think of anything better than the fact that I'm doing so much better in school. My parents are happier because I'm doing better in school, and I'm happier because now I'm doing something which I enjoy. At the same time, it doesn't conflict with me being a Muslim. It's nothing, out of the box. So I mean, me getting scholarships in school, you know, being recognized as a scholar in school, you know, in my particular field and study, it's really inspired me a lot. My character has changed. Towards my parents especially, my relationship, like, I mean, you would have thought that it would have created animosity, but it actually made things actually better for me, because now I've been a lot more patient with my parents in any circumstance. And I think that, again, the concept of believing in one God and knowing that God, you know, you're accountable for what you do, it really, it changed me totally in all my conduct.